And the same problems right now are existing because that voice got null and void, and they knew how powerful it was. Police had their damn feet on our neck, and they still got their feet on our neck. Look how many cats is dying in New York alone from the police, just from New York. Not even talk about Oakland and all these spots that, it's to the point now where that conversation, you gotta start it from the beginning, and then you gotta say, look at the dynamics and the effects of this. It's common sense. And if it's someone that's truly aligned with the art form, you ain't even gonna have to talk much. Because, you know what I mean? They're gonna understand it. But you gotta start from a historical analysis. You gotta start from the beginning and let them know what it is.
And I don't think a lot of them even listen to the lyrics. So I mean, I think that it's just, this is what all my students listen to. I know this is gonna move them. But to be able to say, let's sit down and listen to the lyrics in this.
Write them up.
Like, pull them up, you can pull them up online anywhere. And then have them take a look at that.
Well, I do that. I've done that with, like, I work in a school with all young women of color, and I work in a dropout prevention program. So when we say what woman inspires you, we get a lot of Nembhard. And I've said, so I've sat down with lyrics, and I've broken it down with them, and that works. And the students get it, and they love it. And what doesn't work is when I'm doing it with the adults. And that's my struggle. When the art director, who's literally a big black man, who's been there for a long time, is supporting our young people going into the commercial industry, and I'm on the other side saying, let's turn the radio off, let's change the music, or let's change the videos we're watching on YouTube. It's the adults that I'm having the problem with. They're the ones that don't get the historical context when I start with it.
Show some stats. I mean, connect those two things. Adults, they like numbers, they like concrete. Connect that. Okay, so let's look at Nicki Minaj. Now let's look at teenage pregnancy rates. Let's look at 16 and pregnant. Let's look at, STD rates.
Take back to the salt and pepper era.
Let's look at the stats and see if that helps to bridge the gap a little bit. But I'm
Okay, good. So, all right. So I'm gonna work this way, and then I'm gonna come over to you folks. I haven't forgotten that side of the room, but I know this gentleman had his hand up for a while, and then I'm gonna work my way to you guys. So I'm just trying to keep it as fair as possible. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess the question will be at the end, but I think in '96 or '97 was when I had basically given up on the idea of hip hop. I saw what was happening in '88, '89. I was jumping up and down. I don't make a lot of differentiations when I think about what's bad for or what is evil, what is grimy. So I can easily lump corporatized anything into a very big category that I try to avoid in all of my life. A long time ago, education turned into something that felt grimy like that. A long time ago, working in a lot of our institutions, whether they be jails, social services, medical and the medical industry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'd say about 3.5 years ago, things got so bad out here that I had to make a decision to just say, fuck it. I can't, and as poor as I'll be, I have to just, I know that because of the structure of our society, there are people that are disproportionately affected, horribly affected, and all the laughing and the joking that's going on here. I volunteer in jails, I volunteer in drug and alcohol programs, I volunteer on the streets, I work there. And I know how bad hip-hop is. And you could grade it and think about it in a million different ways, but I know in a very general way how bad hip-hop is for our people. And as a matter of fact, it's like even disproportionately meaning that if you at what point do you just walk away and say that all I do is fight the corporate? That's what this Occupy movement is about. You're not on the fence anymore. You're either kind of in or you're out. At what point do you just say, fuck Russell Simmons, he's on that side? At what point do you say that anybody that profiteers is on that side? Whether it be Sony, whether it be universities that pay people to study the effects of. At what point do you just say, enough, and you make a break, and you come out here and you do it outside of the frame of education systems? Or what point for you, or whoever wants to answer that question, at what point do you say enough?
I'll try to be quick. I always do what I never do. I'll say that the thing that happens is, you know, there's like this extreme, like with that, and I totally agree with you, and I want to applaud your analysis because you have to play it that hard in order for us to get real change. If we can't like sit on the fence, you're exactly right. And the days of riding the fence are over. But once you declare the side, you have to, and at least in my analysis, and we can exchange ideas, like people are affected by Obama. People are affected in ways that are endearing. Some people admire his characteristic and personal traits. Even though Obama is this, the scourge of the planet politically, he is, he's part of the blood sucking of the world. He sits at the seat of Evil Incorporated. But what we're doing is if we throw Obama out, a lot of people who support Obama are saying, hey man, I like Obama, but you know what I mean? I think I want to do something positive, and I'm trying to work with that. It's like, so you declared a side, but you don't want to alienate the people who also can be one to be in part of what we're doing. Because just because
corporations aren't elected by people.
No,
so a political leader is not the same as somebody that works in the corporate system.
Let me be quick, and you're right, I understand. But people are not always able to differentiate between, you have, and you've made that in your life. You said, all things corporate, I avoid that. And like I said, I understand your analogy. But people aren't able to differentiate between that in all aspects of their life every single day when you got to choose what you support. I'm going to go get on the train, which is a cool part of supporting the corporation, or I'm going to do something else. And still those people are winnable to this struggle. They're winnable to be able to say, one day, I'll be strong enough to be on your side, and we are totally, we can like bring down the corporations or capitalism as a whole, in one mighty fell swoop. But we're not able to do that today because the sway and influence of imperialism and capitalism worldwide is strong as hell. So I turn my back and I'm the only one. Well, you turn your back and we're the only damn ones doing like this. And everybody else got to do what they got to do. So then we got to figure out how to do both. We got to figure out how to do both. And it's frustrating and hard as hell. But we got to, in my opinion, so that's in my quick way.
Anybody else want to address?
I mean, I know with me, I know you was asking at what point you turn your back on it. I mean, me, I can't remember when, but it was a while ago. But I mean, as far as hip hop, I mean, when you're an insider, you know what I mean, and you're in it, like Homie and M1, that PREZ, and you're trying to make moves, you know what I mean. You start beginning to recognize early this shit is controlled, motherfucker. But I think, as an MC, as a rapper, MC, when you begin doing it, I know I began doing it not because I had, aspirations to get rich off of it, or get money, or get women. I just loved the offering. I was just in love with the wordplay and just, the ability these MCs had to paint the picture with the words and say something strong and powerful, something that makes sense. So that, I began doing it just for that, you know what I mean? And, you start getting better, just like almost every other MC, people around you, I'm doing good, right? You know what I mean? All of a sudden you're doing records, you're doing music for fun. All of a sudden, you want to pitch your record to the radio or whatever. So I mean, at one point, I don't think anybody gets into the hip-hop game knowing how controlled it is. And once you start making moves and you start getting closer to the top and climbing that mountain, almost in anything. I don't want to just limit it to hip hop, anything, healthcare, any institution, every institution is corruption, and you're in there and you're like, damn, I know when I got here that this was going to be like that. You got this person on your shoulder telling you how you should teach these kids or what curriculum or what subject to teach them and how to do it. And I know because I got family, my mom's is a teacher, my sister's a teacher, and I know people in healthcare and people that are passionate about what they do. A lot of nurses, they want to be nurses because they care about people and they want to, help heal them or whatever. But, it's a bureaucracy in place. There's always eyes on them. There's, unfortunately, most of the time, the wrong people are the bosses. It's the same thing with music, with hip hop. You start getting closer, you start realizing, damn, like we was talking about Connecticut, High 97, like, damn, you got these clowns. They're important, you know what I'm saying? And, it's very discouraging. It makes you think that, it's hopeless. You know what I mean? But I think, it all comes back down to that passion, that love of what you're doing. And I think it begins with that. You know what I mean? Because, if you can't change yourself, forget about changing anybody around. So I think it begins with that. And I don't think it's something that can happen overnight. I believe, I know Steve kept asking the professor if she thought there was a hope that it could be turned around. I believe so. I mean, I think it's already starting. I think people are really starting to open up their eyes, maybe not at the rate that we want them to, but I think it's starting to happen, worldwide, globally. So that gives me, I have to believe there's a chance, because otherwise, what the hell am I doing it for? You know what I'm saying? So I believe it, and I think, hip-hop's been here before. There's been similarities. I mean, I don't think it's as horrible as, it wasn't as horrible as it is now. But there's been similarities. There was times early 90s where New York was nowhere to be found. You know what I'm saying? You had cats on the West Coast, Dre, Snoop Dogg, or whatever. They were promoting,